The Furies, also called Erinyes or Eumenides, were the goddesses of vengeance and punishment in Greek mythology. Their origin dates back to the time of the Titans, the ancient rulers of the world before the Olympian gods. According to Hesiod's Theogony, the Furies were born from the blood that fell on the earth when Cronus, the youngest of the Titans, castrated his father, Uranus, the god of the sky, with a diamond sickle. Uranus had imprisoned his children, the Titans and the Cyclops, in Tartarus, the deepest part of the Underworld, for fear that they would dethrone him. Gaia, the goddess of the earth and mother of the Titans, asked Cronus to free her brothers and avenge their suffering. Cronus agreed and, with the help of his brothers, ambushed Uranus as he joined with Gaia. He then cut off his genitals and threw them into the sea. 3 terrible beings emerged from the blood that splashed the earth: the Furies, the Giants, and the Melias. The Furies were 3 sisters: Alecto, the implacable; Tisiphone, the avenger of murders; and Megaera, the jealous. They had the appearance of older women, with blood-dripping red eyes, snake-like hair, bat-like wings, and sharp nails. Their mission was to pursue and punish mortals who committed crimes against the family or the gods, such as murder, incest, perjury, or blasphemy. They also watched over the fulfillment of curses and oaths and were in charge of torturing the damned in Tartarus. All feared the Furies, even the gods, for they recognized no higher authority than their own. They were the representatives of primordial justice before civilization and law. For this reason, they were also called Eumenides, the benevolent ones, to avoid their wrath with a euphemistic name. The Furies did not take long to demonstrate their power and cruelty. One of the first cases in which they intervened was that of the children of Gaia and Uranus, the Titans, and the Cyclops. These had helped Cronus overthrow their father but were then betrayed by him, who imprisoned them again in Tartarus. The Furies, as daughters of Gaia and Uranus, were offended by this action and decided to punish Cronus and his allies. Thus, the Furies provoked a war between the Titans and the Olympian gods, led by Zeus, the son of Cronus. This war is known as the Titanomachy and lasted 10 years. The Olympian gods managed to free the Cyclops, who provided them with powerful weapons, such as Zeus' thunderbolt, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of invisibility. With these weapons, the Olympian gods defeated the Titans. They threw them into Tartarus, where the Furies guarded and tortured them. Another famous case in which the Furies intervened was that of the family of Tantalus, a mortal king who was the son of Zeus and enjoyed the gods' friendship. Tantalus wanted to test the omniscience of the gods and offered them a banquet in which he served them his son, Pelops, cooked in a cauldron. The gods realized the deception and punished Tantalus with eternal torture in Tartarus, where he suffered hunger and thirst without being able to quench them. In addition, the Furies cursed all his descendants, who were involved in a series of crimes and misfortunes. One of the descendants of Tantalus was Atreus, who killed the children of his brother Thyestes and had them eaten. Thyestes, horrified, invoked the Furies to avenge his blood. The Furies listened to his plea and caused Atreus' sons, Agamemnon and Menelaus, to become involved in the Trojan War, which lasted 10 years and caused much death and suffering. In addition, the Furies caused Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, to murder him on his return from the war, along with her lover Aegisthus, who was the son of Thyestes. The son of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra, Orestes, learned of his mother's crime and decided to avenge his father. With the help of his sister Electra and the god Apollo, Orestes killed Clytemnestra and Aegisthus. In doing so, however, he earned the hatred of the Furies, who pursued him relentlessly for committing matricide. Orestes suffered madness and remorse and had to flee from place to place, looking for a way to get rid of the Furies. Finally, he arrived in Athens, where he submitted himself to the judgment of the goddess Athena and a court of citizens. There, the Furies acted as accusers while Apollo defended him. The trial ended in a draw, and Athena decided to cast her vote in favor of Orestes, absolving him of his guilt. The Furies were offended by this decision, but Athena appeased them by offering them a place of worship in Athens and changing their name to Eumenides, the benevolent ones. Thus, the Furies became goddesses, city protectors, and justice. The Furies not only punished ordinary mortals but also heroes who had offended the gods or their families. Some heroes who suffered the wrath of the Furies are Alcmaeon. This hero was the son of Amphiaraos, a soothsayer who participated in the expedition of the Seven against Thebes. Amphiaraos knew he would die in the war, but his wife Eriphyle betrayed him and forced him to go in exchange for a gold necklace. Alcmaeon, following his father's advice, killed his mother to avenge her betrayal. In doing so, however, he earned the hatred of the Furies, who pursued him and drove him mad. Alcmaeon tried to escape from them but found no place to be at peace. Finally, he arrived in the kingdom of Phegio, where he married his daughter Arsinoe. But when Alcmaeon gave him the necklace of Eriphyle, the Furies returned to torment him. Alcmaeon fled again and took refuge in the sanctuary of Apollo at Delphi, where the god told him that he must purify himself and offer the necklace to the goddess Harmonia. Alcmaeon complied with the command but was killed by the sons of Phegio, who wanted to recover the necklace. Hippolytus. This hero was the son of Theseus, the king of Athens, and the Amazon Hippolyta. Hippolytus was a chaste young man devoted to the goddess Artemis, whom he dedicated his life to. However, his stepmother, Phaedra, fell in love with him and tried to seduce him. Hippolytus rejected her with contempt, and Phaedra, humiliated, committed suicide, leaving a letter in which she accused Hippolytus of having raped her. Theseus, reading the letter, believed the lie and cursed his son, asking his father, Poseidon, to punish him. Poseidon sent a sea bull that frightened the horses of Hippolytus, who was driving his chariot along the coast. Hippolytus lost control of the chariot and was dragged over the rocks, suffering mortal wounds. Before dying, Hippolytus was acquitted by Artemis, who revealed the truth to Theseus and blamed him for his injustice. Artemis also vowed revenge on Aphrodite, the goddess of love, who had provoked Phaedra's passion for Hippolytus. Orpheus. This hero was the son of Apollo, the god of music, and Calliope, the muse of poetry. Orpheus was an incomparable musician and poet, capable of enchanting animals, plants, and even stones with his lyre. Orpheus fell in love with Eurydice, a nymph, and married her. But on their wedding day, Eurydice was bitten by a snake and died. Orpheus, heartbroken, decided to go down to the underworld to retrieve her. With his music, he managed to move Hades and Persephone, the kings of Hades, who allowed him to take Eurydice on one condition, that he would not look back until he left the underworld. Orpheus agreed and set out on his return journey, followed by Eurydice. But as he was about to leave, Orpheus doubted Eurydice was behind him and turned to look at her. At that moment, Eurydice disappeared forever, bidding him farewell with a last look. Orpheus tried to re-enter the underworld, but the Furies barred his way. Orpheus resigned himself to live alone, rejecting the love of other women and devoting himself only to his music. But one day, he was attacked by Maenads, frenzied women followers of Dionysus, who tore him to pieces for having scorned them. His head and lyre were thrown into the river Hebron, where they continued to sing until they reached the sea. The Muses collected and buried his remains on Mount Olympus, where Apollo protected them. It is said that his soul was reunited with that of Eurydice in the Elysian fields, where he could embrace and look at her without fear. The Furies not only dealt with the affairs of mortals but also intervened in conflicts between the gods. Although the Furies were before the Olympian gods, they recognized their authority and respected their decisions. However, they could also act as mediators or arbitrators in divine disputes, and even challenge the gods if they felt they had committed an injustice. An example of the Furies' intervention in the affairs of the gods is the case of Prometheus, the Titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans. Zeus, the king of the gods, was enraged by this act and punished Prometheus with eternal torture. He chained him to a rock in the Caucasus, where an eagle devoured his liver every day, which was regenerated every night. In addition, Zeus sent Pandora, the first woman, to Earth with a box containing all the world's evils. Pandora, moved by curiosity, opened the box and released the evils which spread across the globe, causing human suffering and misery. The Furies, as defenders of justice, took pity on Prometheus and the humans and decided to help them. Thus, the Furies convinced Hephaestus, the blacksmith god, to release Prometheus from his chains on the condition that Prometheus wear a ring made from a piece of the rock to which he had been chained as a symbol of his submission to Zeus. In addition, the Furies revealed to Prometheus a secret that could save him from the wrath of Zeus, the fate that Zeus would be dethroned by one of his sons, just as he had dethroned his father, Cronus. Prometheus, then, offered Zeus a deal. He would tell him the name of the son who would dethrone him in exchange for Zeus forgiving him and leaving him alone. Zeus accepted the agreement, and Prometheus said that the son who would dethrone him would be the one born of the goddess Thetis, a sea nymph. Zeus, grateful for the information, reconciled with Prometheus and renounced his intention to marry Thetis, who ended up marrying the hero Peleus, from whom Achilles, the greatest of Greek warriors, was born. Another example of the Furies' intervention in the affairs of the gods is the case of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and fertility. Demeter had a daughter, Persephone, the goddess of spring and vegetation. One day, Persephone was abducted by Hades, the god of the Underworld, who fell in love with her and took her to his kingdom. Demeter, despairing over the loss of her daughter, stopped performing her duties and caused a great famine in the world. Humans stopped offering sacrifices to the gods, and the gods became concerned about the situation. Zeus, the brother of Demeter and Hades, intervened and ordered Hades to return Persephone. However, Hades gave Persephone a pomegranate seed, which forced her to remain in the underworld according to the laws of the gods. Then, the Furies intervened as mediators and proposed a solution. Persephone would spend half the year with her mother in Olympus, and the other half with her husband in Hades. In this way, the balance between the gods was restored. The cycle of the seasons was explained. When Persephone was with her mother, the earth flourished, and it was spring and summer. When Persephone was with her husband, the earth withered, and it was autumn and winter. The Furies not only appear in the stories of the gods and heroes but also form part of other myths and legends of Greek mythology. Oedipus was the son of King Laius and Queen Jocasta of Thebes. Before his birth, an oracle predicted that Oedipus would kill his father and marry his mother. To avoid this fate, Laius ordered Oedipus to be abandoned on Mount Cithaeron, with his feet pierced. However, Oedipus was rescued by a shepherd and taken to King Polybius and Queen Mephrope of Corinth, who adopted him as their son. Years later, Oedipus consulted the Delphic oracle, which repeated the same prophecy. Oedipus, believing that Polybius and Mephrope were his birth parents, fled from Corinth to avoid fulfilling the prophecy. On the way, he met Laius, who insulted and attacked him. Oedipus, not knowing that he was his father, killed him in self-defense. Then, he arrived at Thebes, where the city was besieged by the Sphinx, a monster with the body of a lion and the head of a woman who proposed a riddle to travelers and devoured them if they did not solve it. Oedipus succeeds in solving the riddle and frees Thebes from the Sphinx. As a reward, he married Iacasta, Laius' widow, not knowing she was his mother. Oedipus and Iacasta had 4 children: Antigone, Ismene, Eteocles, and Polynices. Everything seemed to be going well until a plague struck Thebes, and the oracle revealed that the culprit was the murderer of Laius, who should be expelled from the city. Oedipus, unaware that he was the murderer, began an investigation to find him. With the help of the soothsayer Tiresias and several witnesses, Oedipus discovered the terrible truth that he had killed his father and married his mother. Jocasta, upon learning this, hanged herself in her room. Oedipus, upon seeing her, gouged out her eyes with the clasps of her dress and went into exile from Thebes, cursing his children. The Furies, as punishment for patricide and incest, pursued and tormented him until the end of his days. The myth of the Danaids. The Danaids were the 50 daughters of King Danaus of Argos, who were cousins of the 50 sons of King Egypt of Egypt. Egypt wanted to marry his sons to the Danaids, but Danaus refused, as he knew that Egypt planned to kill him and usurp his throne. However, Egypt threatened him with war and forced him to accept the marriage. Danaus then devised a plan. He gave each of his daughters a dagger and ordered them to kill their husbands on their wedding night. All the Danaids obeyed except Hypermnestra, who fell in love with her husband, Lynceus, and forgave him. Upon learning this, Danaids locked Hypermnestra in prison and sought new suitors for his daughters. However, the Furies, as punishment for the murder of the husbands, tormented the Danaids with horrible dreams and condemned them to eternal torture in the underworld, filling a bottomless cask with water and using whole pitchers. The myth of Alcestis. Alcestis was the daughter of King Pelops of Phocis and the wife of King Admeto of Paris. Admeto was a friend of Apollo, who granted her the gift of eternal life on the condition that someone would volunteer to die in her place when her time came. When Admeto was about to die, no one wanted to sacrifice himself for him except Alcestis, who loved him deeply. Alcestis took leave of her husband and children and gave herself up to death, which took her to the underworld. Admeto, then, regretted having accepted the bargain and wept bitterly for his wife. Heracles, the hero visiting Admeto's palace, heard the story and pitied his friend. Heracles decided to go to the underworld and fight against death to get Alcestis back. Heracles succeeds in defeating death and bringing back Alcestis, who is reunited with her husband. However, as punishment for mocked fate, the Furies cause Alcestis to lose her memory and not recognize Admeto. Admeto, then, had to win back the love of Alcestis, proving his fidelity and devotion to her. And so, the Furies are the embodiment of anger and revenge. Their image is terrifying and powerful and represents the force of nature,